Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards here for Pawsome Stamps today, and I am creating a clean and simple card featuring the Chameleon stamp set. I just adore the stamp set. It's so cute. So many different little chameleons in different kind of poses and with different patterns on them. So I have a stitched rectangle here. Now this is about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, smaller than a 5.5 by 4 1/4 inch panel. So it's about I want to say 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. I hope that is right. And I'm stamping out my little chameleon here. So I have chosen the one that kind of looks like he has stripes going all the way down his back. I am stamping it out with some alcohol-friendly ink. And I'm going to stamp it a couple of times to get a nice crisp clear impression, and once I have done that I am also going to stamp it out onto a mask. So I have a full stick post-it note here and I'm just going to stamp it down again on that, and then off camera, because you don't want to watch all of that, I'm going to fussy cut all the way around at this little guy. So once that is done, I will place the mask on top of my stamped image, being careful to get it lined up correctly. That tail was a little bit fiddly to cut out, but I did it in the end. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the little branch that comes in the stamp set on top. So when you are doing kind of flat stamping like this and you want to mask things off, you need to stamp out the images that are going to be in the foreground first, and then images that are going to be in the background next. And you kind of work your way back through the images until you get right to the very background. So my chameleon is going to be sitting on top of my branch. I wanted to be able to see all of my chameleon with my branch kind of in the background, and so that's the order that I did them in. So I masked off that little branch as well, and now I'm pulling out one of the little flies that come in the stamp set. I'm not going to worry masking him off. He's too little to really worry about, but I just wanted to stamp him down while I had my stamping platform out. You could, of course, use just a little stamp block to do this. They're only tiny little images, but I just wanted to use my stamping positioner because I just find it so much easier. I'm also stamping out that little dotted trail for my fly as well. So once that is done, I'm pulling out my Concord and 9th Aqua Sky ink, and I'm just going to do a small bit of subtle ink blending around my image. So I'm not ink blending over the entire panel, just around my little image here. This is a very, very pale ink, so you're not going to see a huge amount of it, but it does just help the image pop and bring it forward on the card. And like I say, I'm just being careful to go all the way around my image, but not all the way over the card panel. And so my mask was coming up a little bit in places. It's not going to matter too much because this ink is very, very light. So my alcohol markers are going to cover up any ink that I've got on there. But peel off the mask and there is my image ready to colour. So I am using my Ohuhu markers today. These are pretty new to me, so I'm still getting used to using them, but I'm really enjoying them. So for my branch, I'm using E310 and YR92 to create a nice kind of brown shade. I did extend that branch all the way to the edge of my panel there. I had considered just going up to the stitching line, but I decided to go right to the edge, just to kind of carry it on off the picture, if that makes sense. So I'm going in with a couple of coats of that darker colour and then back again to blend it out with the lighter one. And once my little branch is done, I will move on to my chameleon. So I am creating a rainbow chameleon today, because why not? So for my reds, I'm actually going with pinks rather than red. So I'm using RV080 and R15, just using 2 markers for each of these shades today. And they're quite small areas, so I didn't think you needed 2. So this is a nice bright pink, and I really like the pop of colour that it gave. Then I'm going with some more subtle kind of pastel-y shades for my other colours. So for my oranges, I have got R19 and YR070. And then for my yellows, I have Y050 and Y030. And again, just laying in a little bit of shadow with my darker colour and blending out with lightest. For my greens, I have GY3 and GY7. And just the same process for each colour as I go through. And then I'll move on to my blues. I have B070 and B050. And I love these blues. They're a little bit brighter than some of the other colors that I've used, but I like that kind of contrast. They're all fairly pastel shades, so they all work well together. Finally, for my purple, I have a V250 and V230. And I was kind of debating then what color to do his head and his feet. And I decided to stick with my purple and use that for all of those parts as well. So just going around the edge of his little head there, and I will blend that out with the lighter marker. And then for all of his little spikes, I decided to do those in rainbow order as well. But I wanted to make sure that the pink wasn't sitting on top of the pink and the yellow wasn't sitting on top of the yellow. So I started from blue and worked my way back through the rainbow that way, to try and make sure that no two colors were kind of sitting next to each other, if that makes sense. So, I mean, the orange is a little bit on top of the orange there, but I didn't think it mattered too much. So working my way back, and I will figure out in a minute that I can just kind of do all of the little bumps in the purple color, and then I'll go through and do all of the little bumps in blue and so on and so forth until I've got through my entire rainbow. Then around his little eye, again, there are these kind of little frill kind of pattern details, which I'm also going to do in rainbow order with these same markers that I have out. So you'll see that I've left his legs there. I really wasn't sure what color to do his legs. I debated coloring them in different colors, but I decided that I would just stick with that purple that I've used for the head and tail. I just thought that that looked a little bit more cohesive. So that is his little spines done. And now onto his little eye, and this is very, very small. So you really only need one marker. I'm using the darker of the two that I had for each color combination, and just dabbing it in there. It is tiny. But doesn't he look cute? A little rainbow chameleon. He looks really, really happy. And obviously he has his lunch in sight there with his little fly. So this is where I was kind of thinking, oh, what color for the legs, but decided to go with that purple combination. And I'm glad I did, because I think it kind of pulls everything together nicely. For the little fly, I did go in with a touch of that lighter blue color just to add to the wings. And then that is pretty much my coloring done, but I did pull out a white Sakura Jelly Roll pen just to add a little bit of highlight detail to everything. This is something that I generally do with all of my coloring, and I just think it makes everything pop a little bit more. So just adding a little bit along the back of his body there, a little bit on his head and face, and then a little bit onto the tree branch where he's sitting. Once that was done, I did decide to try and pull out a little gel glitter pen here that I have here, and I added that to my little fly's wings. So just to kind of give them a little bit of extra sparkle. Once that was done, I'm pulling out my stamp set again to pop my sentiment down, which says, "You're one in a chameleon," and I just love that punny phrase with this image. So I am using some Versafine Onyx Black ink to stamp out the sentiment. I like this ink for sentiments because it is a lot finer and it gives a lot more detail, and it really helps the sentiments to stand out, particularly when you've got a nice scripty sentiment like this one. It really helps that sentiment to kind of be a little bit more crisp and precise. So once that is done, here's that little glue pen that I was talking about, the little glitter pen that I decided to add just to the fly's wings. I'm not sure that it picks up on camera. It's such a tiny area. Next up, I have some purple cardstock, which I have cut with a slightly larger stitched rectangle, and I am layering these two together to give a nice border all the way around. I decided to go with this purple because I thought it worked with the purple that I've used on my little chameleon. And I am just popping this down with liquid glue, so there is no dimension from foam tape or anything on this card today. It is very clean and simple and flat, but I really love it. So here is my card base. I've just stamped out one of my chameleons and the other little sentiment which says "Don't change," and I thought that worked perfectly. And now I'm layering my card panel onto my card base. So my card base is 5 1/4 5.5 by 4.25, sorry. And you can see that I've just got a tiny little white border all the way around the edge. And I just love the way that this turned out. I think it looks really, really lovely. Clean and simple cards are definitely out of my comfort zone, but I enjoyed making this one today. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you come back again. And please feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today.